Welcome to the podcast. Here we are exploring just how we are to live in this mysterious existence. It's a space for unfiltered and open conversation with diverse humans on diverse topics, reminding us just how connected we truly are no matter the differences. We uncover unique insights, life philosophies, and paths to fulfillment that inspire us to explore for ourselves what it means to be human and to exist at all. Help us discover our individual and collective potential, find personal freedom, purpose, and hopefully help create a more conscious and truly connected world. Today, we are joined by Tony Sayers, primarily an activist, but also an author and public speaker who began to question existence and the meaning of his life while on the 9-to-5 treadmill. Since becoming aware of the deeper goings-on within this world, he has been relentlessly working to expose the levels of corruption in society in an attempt to help others open their eyes. While often controversial in his perspectives, he states, "I realized a few years ago that the world is in dire straits, and if I was to have kids, then I wanted to be able to look them in the eyes and know that I contributed to making their world a better place." Always coming from a place of care and desire for positive change. A critic of the New Age movement, he urges listeners to embrace their sovereignty and seek the truth rather than what simply feels good. The conversation covers themes like the soul trap, the role of intention in life, the influence of technology, the manipulation of perceptions, the need for discernment and critical thinking, and strategies for achieving personal sovereignty in a deceptive world. It also explores how he continues and finds purpose amidst the awareness of a darker reality. I'm really curious about, I'm sure it's somewhere on your online domains, but I haven't found it. What was the actual catalyst to you? I know it's been a very long journey, and then you went into spirituality and the sort of New Age stuff, and you've taken turns, but where did it all start?
It's been in a long time. I speak to people that have been awake for 20, 30 years, and I feel so sorry for them because this has drained the life out of me for the last 10 or 11 years. That's more than enough time. But to be honest with you, it was boredom. I was bored. I was so bored. Literally, I was working like in the corporate world. I was in I think you guys call it a real estate agency, same thing. And they call it 9 to 5, but I was doing like 8 till 8 and just being drained every day. With sales, like you can't win. Even if you hit your target, they expect more. They increase your target next month because they think that they put your target too low. And it was like micromanagement. I don't know if you've ever been micromanaged before. You have.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, it was to the point where you had to make a certain amount of phone calls in a certain amount of time, and then you'd get called up to head office for like managers meetings, and they'd make you like stand up if you hadn't finished the amount of calls that they wanted you to do. It was just horrible, right? And I don't have nightmares about things these days, but when I do, it's about being in that industry, right? So I was burnt out. I got the insight one day and it was very clear. It came to me and it said, if you carry on, you're going to have a heart attack by the time you're 50. It was like a voice out of nowhere. But as soon as I heard it, I knew it was the truth because I was so burnt out and stressed. Anyway, cut a long story short, I'd reached the end, and I remember just distinctly standing in my kitchen, and the questions came. I feel like I'm existing rather than living, which in the end became the title of my first book. And I was like, is there a God? What am I here for? I can't just be here doing this until the day I die. What just makes no sense at all. So for the first time really in my life, which when I look back is sad, I was 33 at the time. And that was really the first time that I started questioning reality. I've always known this place is weird. I remember being at school and I see these bullies picking on this kid, and I was just like, this place is evil. Like he's just a kid. And so I've always known it's not right, but that was really the first time where I was like, yeah, I just asking the big questions. And then from there, it's weird because intention is very strong. And I had that intention to want to know. And then all of a sudden, that was it. I would stumble across documentaries, David Icke, all this found out about 9/11 and the whole moon landing scam. It was like just this information was just flooding in from all angles. And that was the start of it. And it hasn't stopped really. And
Mm.
it's still not stopping from even today. Every time I think are you aware of the soul trap information that I talk about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So every time I think I was pretty much sure that that was like I call it the cherry on the pile of dog shit. I didn't think there could be any more to it than that. But if you've seen the recent uploads on my channel about this whole thing about there being like an earthly realm when we die, where we have money and jobs, and can you imagine, right? And it's in all the movies, Beetlejuice, and there's a very good movie, Defending Your Life. It's called. I think it's called
Mm.
that. Let me just check. But it talks about this basically this registration center that you go to when you pass, and it's getting handing in your passport or something like that, and they take all your details. And I'm like, oh my god, so there's a place just like Earth when we pass. That's if you go to the light, of course. Hopefully not, most of us won't go there. I'm just checking the name of this movie. Yeah, Defending Your Life. It's from the 80s, right? You
Okay.
can get it on Amazon Prime for $2 to rent. But you'll watch that and it's, oh my God, this place is crazy. So yeah, it went from there. And then at that point, I decided, when I realized that they were trying to murder us all, I, when the penny finally dropped, and I remember the day that it really did drop because I heard about chemtrails. I remember watching it about the night before. I was going down the rabbit holes and I saw about chemtrails. I was like, nah, that's way too crazy. And then the next day I went out to do a viewing to show some people this house. And I looked up chemtrails everywhere. I'm like, oh my God, they really are. And at that point, I was like, you have two choices. It's either you shut up about it and you just live your life knowing that there's evil going on, or you start speaking up. And I don't have kids, but I got a niece and nephew who I love, and I'm like, I can't not say anything for their point. I don't want to lay on my deathbed and know shit's going down, and not have opened my mouth at all, knowing all of that. Then I got another couple of insights. It was like, so you're going to lose a lot of people, and you're going to have to give your life. Right. This is like this, I don't know, voice or insight. Let's call it insight. And yeah, obviously, I've lost a lot of people down the years. Old friends thought I went mad, had fallouts with family. Now I just don't talk about it around them. So I have to censor myself, but they know my opinions. And then with the whole giving your life thing, I thought at the time it might mean if someone's going to top me off or something like that. They might still do. I don't know. Still got a while to go yet. But now I understand it to be more like this is my life in terms of my purpose, and
Mm.
this is what I'm really supposed to be doing. So yeah, that was how it all started, basically.
That's a that there's a lot of things in that I have you seen the new show called Chaos?
Yes,
Yeah.
someone else recommended that last night. That talks about the soul trap, right?
Yeah, I didn't realize that's what it was, but I started watching it like the same time I started coming across your content. It reminds me of you had on your story this morning as well, the meme where it was like all the stuff that we have to try and avoid. There's just so many things. There's a kid in the little buggy, and he said they're trying to kill us with all these different things. But what confuses me is they want, from your perspective, they want us to come back here though. So why? I just don't understand. Would you be able to elaborate on that sort of? That seems contradictory to me.
Yeah, so I feel like their strategy is changing.
Mm.
And there's going to be a new soul trap. Basically, this whole world is set up for loosh, for to harvest our energy. It's like caviar for them. They basically need it to survive. When I say them, I'm talking about the entities that are just outside of our visible sight. And so as humans, we're basically blind as to what else is out there. We can see like 0.2% of the visible spectrum. And now I'm starting to wonder if that's by design. I don't know if that was always the case. And so there's all this stuff going on in the same place that we can't see. Well, you can see it if you train your psychic abilities that we all have. But there's all these entities there, not just one entity. Obviously, everyone talks about the reptilians, but it's more than that. You have dragon entities, you have spider entities, you have serpent entities, you have octopus entities, you have demiurge, you have greys. It's really teeming with kind of entities in that realm. And so they feed on that energy. And I think it's also our energy that's actually powering this whole matrix. The standard soul trap, and I think what's happening here is it's starting to break down. There's also like glitches in the matrix and stuff. There's like a lot of weird stuff happening at the moment, and I think they're on a shorter timeline to really get us enslaved, indefinitely. So at the moment they've got this like standard soul trap going, whereby you go to the white light and then you see a loved one or a pet, or if your thing was Archangel Michael, or you were really into Jesus, then they'll present the algorithmic nature of this matrix, will work it all out,
Sort
and
of
it
like
will
our
be like,
phones.
yeah, it'll be like, okay, how can we hook Bella back in? Well, we know that she was really into angels, so let's use Archangel Michael. So when you pass, because I'm not saying that you don't, I'm just using you as an example, because you didn't do any research in your physical life, as most humans don't, you just naturally gravitate to the white light tunnel because you've seen all these documentaries on Netflix, and then you've been on YouTube where there's all these agents for the Matrix having their NDEs telling you how it's so wonderful and it's all love and everything like that, and there's no judgment and all that nonsense. And then of course you go there and an entity will meet you and they'll tell you that they're not judging you, but then they'll show you a screen with all your worst bits when you hurt Bob and then you hurt Dawn and you had a big argument, and they'll be like, hey, we're not judging you, Bella, but hey, look at what you did there. And then they make you feel what the person felt when you hurt them, right? So on the one hand, they're saying we're not judging you, but then they actually make you feel bad. And so then you've got all this guilt and shame, and then they hit you with the karma, if that's what you believed in, or they hit you with the heaven and hell, if that's what you believed in. And you're like, oh no, please. And they're like, there is a solution to all of this. And you're like, okay, you need to go back down on planet insane asylum to have another lifetime. And the human soul obviously agrees to it reluctantly, and then the most evil thing is they wipe the memory. Everything that you learn in this lifetime you would have forgotten. That's why they call it research, retire, all that stuff. It's all in the language of the solar system, luring the soul into the system. It's all in their language. You don't have to look far. The world getting whirled back round over and over again. And so this has been working for them for quite some time. But now I think, there's more people becoming aware of the light tunnel and all this stuff. So they need to shift gears, so to speak. But also, I think it's breaking down this timeline that they're on. And so what they're going for next is digital enslavement. And that's why there's all this push with technology. And you have puppets like Elon Musk giving you some truth. And then on the other hand, he wants to put a chip in your brain. I don't know how people fall for that one, but the end game is going to be. Have you ever seen Black Mirror?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, horrific, isn't it?
Yeah. There's like multiple. Are you talking about like the multiple episodes of Black Mirror? Like
Yeah,
or
there's a
there's
couple of
one.
episodes where it really goes into what I'm going to talk about next. What they want to
Okay.
do is something called consciousness transference. And so basically, what they're going to do over the next few decades, we're going to see on the surface incredible advancements in technology, and no doubt they're eventually going to be able to cure cancer with some kind of technology, even though they cause it all. and and so already the younger generation are very in love with technology. I go around, I see my nephew, and he's got something in his ear, gaming and like headsets, and already all over the body, right? So your generation, you really need to be aware of the fact that it's fun, but it's also a big trap. And we're going to see all these medical advancements, and then what they're going to do is they're going to promise like everlasting or eternal life. You might come down with a terminal illness, and they'll say to you, unfortunately, you've only got 6 months to live, and you'll be like, oh my God, oh my God. But we can offer you a solution. They always come up with a solution, right, that they want to offer you. And you'll be like, oh, what's that then? What we can do is we can clone you, and we can download your consciousness into this quantum computer so you can exist forever. And we just put the chip in the clone and it can be you. The only difference is the body is a different variation. And there's those really horrific episodes in Black Mirror where, did you see the one where they transfer the consciousness
Oh.
into the teddy bear,
Yeah. Oh.
into the yeah, right, into the museum. And so this teddy bear is stuck in this museum cabinet for God knows how many years. And the consciousness within the teddy bear is like saying, help. I think it blink an eye or something. It's trying to get the attention of the museum worker, but the museum worker can't hear her, obviously. And she's just stuck in this teddy bear. And I think that's going, I mean, it's very dark to consider that, but I think that's what they're going for next. I think they want total enslavement with technology. But to go back to your original question, you raise a good point. If they're harvesting our loose energy, then why are they trying to murder us all, basically? I think, first of all, there's too many of us in terms of they're struggling to control the narratives with their psyops, and we see all this with all the censorship, and they're banning TikTok in America and all this stuff. So it's getting more and more difficult for them to control the narratives. And if they can't control the narratives, then they can't control the people, and they can't control the sheep. They can't herd the sheep like they once did, and they can't induce all the fear and the panic. And I don't know if you've noticed, it's always been crazy, but near enough every day there's something, like if it's not monkeypox, it's like a new war that's going to start, or there's riots going, like literally, like before, a few years ago when I first woke up to all this, it was like maybe once every 3 or 4 months there'd be a new fear mongering attack. Now I'm not joking, it's like every day something's going on. So they're really trying to push all the fear and panic and keep people still into that. And as information spreading, people can see it. And like now, there's not the emotional charge. So, for example, monkeypox, when I look at all the mainstream articles, it's all people like laughing emoji. There's not so much fear as there was sort of 4 years ago. People are seeing through it all. And so they're struggling to keep the sheep where they want them, in line. And so they're trying to cull the amount of people here. And from what I understand is they get loose from the people here on Earth, but also from this kind of world, like this earthly place in the astral as well. They also harvest loose from there. So they're harvesting loose from this dimension and that dimension. And I don't think they have a choice. I think at this point where we are, I think they have to. Otherwise, it's just that in the end, if it keeps going in this trajectory, I think they'll just cease to exist. I feel that's what's going on with it.
Mm. Mm. It's, to me, so first with the whole fear thing, that's a big part of traditional organized religion. It's based on fear as well. So we're just seeing the same like patterns. But a lot of people, not a lot of people, but one perspective could be that some of the things you're saying, because they are like harder to look at, is the same sort of thing. Like it's fear, like making us like it's fear based. So what would you say to that perspective? Why is what you're doing and putting out there different?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so basically, with the information or with the truth, you're right. It doesn't feel good. If you listen to my interviews, I'm the first person to admit that it's like a punch in the face, right? Because when you die, you want to think that Nan and Grandad are there, and it's all love and light, and you go over to the Rainbow Bridge and all that stuff, and everything's good. So I get it. And I get why people want these things to lean into. They want to feel like they've got their guides and their angels and all that kind of stuff. So on the surface, you could argue the fact that the information is quote unquote negative, right? But if you follow it through and get to the point of what I'm saying, is that I'm actually saying that if you connect with self energy, who you really are, which is, I call it essence, I don't like the word God, that you are a creator being, that you can create worlds, and that you have been temporarily tricked here, and that this is probably going to be your last lifetime. And all you need to do is use your intention to get out of here, essentially. Then I don't feel like yes, there's a grieving period of, oh my God, this is a soul trap and these entities are deceiving us and the world's not what I thought it is. You could say that with all of the truth information, right? Look at what they're doing with kids and all that stuff. You could argue that it all makes you feel negative in the moment, but once it's getting over that hump and accepting things for what they are, okay, it is like this. So at that point, you don't have to stay within that negative mindset. You then move to solutions and to not only working out how to get out of here, but also help. Hopefully, you want to help others get out of here as well. And you use that kind of charge to motivate you. So I don't, like everyone, I have my days where I'm a bit like, oh my God, this place. But I'm not out here depressed or suicidal. I'm more motivated than ever. And I'm confident that this is going to be my last time. And I would only get to the point of being confident of knowing that this is going to be my last time because I have a solution. Why do I have a solution? Because I went the whole way down the dark path and looked at everything, even though in that moment it didn't make me feel good. Now I feel like I've got the keys to get out of here. And so, yes, on the surface, doesn't sound great. It's like a slap in the face, kicking the balls if you're a guy. But once you get over that grieving process, and there's different levels to the matrix because you can wake up to the deception, then you fall into the new age stuff, and that's also deception. And then after coming out of the new age stuff is a big grieving process for a lot of people. I've got clients, people on my YouTube, they tell me like when I came out of the new age stuff, because it is all love and light, rainbows and unicorns, angels and guides, it feels great. Who doesn't? Who I would love to have guides. I would love to have angels that have got my back. I'm the first person to say that, but I'm more interested about what's true and knowing how deceptive and manipulative they are. And researching into all these NDEs and working with thousands of clients down the years. I've got so many stories where they thought they were communicating with their dead dad, and they followed all the advice, and their life ended up in a big car crash almost. Lost jobs, lost their job, lost their wife. I've got so many stories like that. You start to see these patterns with how these entities are. And so, yeah, it's in the moment, it doesn't feel good. And yeah, maybe when you come across this information, maybe you are creating a bit of loosh in the fact that you're going through a grieving process. The way this place is set up is constant loosh farm. This is why we have all these wars and famines and the TV every time you put. When was the last time you put on the news and there was a good story or a miracle, or they happen as well? You don't see it. They don't want you feeling good. So the whole places are set up to create that loosh. And yeah, it's a case of riding that initial, this doesn't make you feel good. But then once you get through that, and then you realize your sovereignty is actually empowering. It's empowering who and what you truly are. And for me, that makes me feel good. I would rather be hit in the face with the truth, get over that hump, and then actually feel, oh wow, I'm a sovereign being. All right, there's no saviors, but at least I know now. At least I'm not going to be deceived by anything. And so that gives me great comfort. It gives other people great comfort. And I think that's where we need to be. We need to be sovereign beings.
How is it that you discern? Because something else that you talk about is the fact that it is a lot of information out there, say the new age, how that's just, you talk about how that's just another deception. So there's some truth and then they like sprinkle it with lies. What you were saying before, we only have 2% able to see what is. How could we ever truly know what is truth or not?
Mhm.
Like, how do you discern that?
So truth is a frequency. Everything has a frequency. A lie has a frequency. Anger has a frequency. Love has a frequency. Every person has an energetic blueprint. You have a different frequency to me. And these are frequencies that we can all tune into. And the way if I was to sum up how do you discern truth, it's a frequency that you just feel deep down in your gut feeling. That's true. It's like that. You know, when someone says something and you're like, that's 100% true. I know it. Because on a soul level, considering the fact that we're a fractal of the creator, we already know the truth. So when you hear it, it's just you're tapping into that frequency. And it's a recognition. I would describe it as a recognition. The same way as you can feel deceptions and half-truths and stuff like that. And the problem is that as a species, we have forgotten how, it sounds sad, but we've forgotten how to think properly. And we've forgotten how to think properly because we've allowed others to do the thinking for us. If you look at our older generations, our parents and our grandparents, they'll sit in front of the TV all day and they'll get told what to think. And so and then other people repeat. And so everyone repeats the same thing. So no one's doing any independent thinking. And then you have our leaders also telling people what to think. So you've got all these people and the TV and the radio telling you what to think, what the truth is. But people have forgotten how to think properly because they don't think independently. And so this is the issue that en masse, that's very dangerous because then the matrix has carte blanche to do anything it wants. But for us, we have to, and not even just in this dimension, when we pass over, it's important to carry on those discernment skills when we pass, because I'm not saying there's loads of other deceptions out there when we pass, but it's good to have that worked out and that strength within us again. And yeah, it's a recognition, it's a frequency, a gut feeling, if you like. And it just, for me now, when I hear something, it's like, that's the truth. That's the simplest way that I would describe it. People say, oh, you can't know the truth. Well, the truth can be known, otherwise it wouldn't exist, or nobody knows the truth. Truth can be known. I think that's something that comes out of the New Age quite a lot, which is very dangerous, because if you come from the opinion that truth can't be known, then you're just gonna be like washing around and never getting anywhere. So it can be known, and it's a frequency, and it's also, the truth is objective. It's not subjective. It doesn't change from person to person. The amount of times I see that's out of the New Age. That's just your truth. No, the truth is the truth. Like the sky will always be blue. Doesn't matter how much you want it to be red, it's going to be blue, right? There exists an objective truth that we can know. And this is what I'm trying to attempt. People coming from the New Age, they're filled their head with all of this stuff. Like no one knows anything. Your truth is your truth. That's actually called solipsism, which is actually one of the satanic sins, actually, when you look into it, to say that your truth is your truth and my truth is my truth. But that's going on a tangent there. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, yeah, it definitely does. I think, yeah, I'm not sure if that is something that I got from like the sort of New Age movement, but because thing that comes into it for me is how our perspective is, even though, like how you're saying there is one objective truth, really the way we see the world, it is always going to be subjective because how we've been conditioned, how we've been brought up and all those things. So do you think
that doesn't mean that the truth still isn't objective?
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, that's not what I'm trying to say. But I'm just saying, do you think we're ever able to see the truth objectively?
I think we all need to get on the same page. Yeah, this is one of my biggest issues that I have with the movement. Let's call it that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm the bastion of truth and I'm the holy grail of everything, right? I've still got things to learn. I'm not arrogant enough or ignorant enough to say that I know everything. And I have, even for me, I got the whole veganism thing wrong. They got me on my emotions with that, because I saw one of those documentaries. How can you watch one of those documentaries and not feel anything? I realized that was a scam later on. But yeah, so basically we all have to reach an objective truth. Essentially, it essentially, if like I don't know, a more selfish level, I don't know if it's going to matter to me getting out of here if you don't believe it's a soul trap and I do, because if I believe it's a soul trap, I'm going to make a plan and how to get out of here. And if you don't, then maybe you get recycled and it doesn't affect me. Now, I hope that doesn't happen. And of course, you know, what I'm trying to do is help as many people as well as myself. And I feel like if we have all agreed it's a soul trap, these entities are masquerading. See, I just put a video out today about Archaic, right? There's this guy called Archaic. I don't know if you know him.
No, I don't.
Oh, he's big. He's got a big following. And there's people in my comments saying, yeah, he says a lot of truth and this, but he doesn't think that this is a soul trap. And I'm like, what's the point of following someone that gives you 70%, 80% truth? And then at the most important thing, he's no, that's not, we're not in a soul trap. Like, what's the point of following those people? I don't get it. And I'll go on like anyone that invites me, I'll go and speak because I feel like this information needs to get out there. But I'll go on some people's podcasts and they'll have me on there, like anti-new age, right? And then I'll look at the next guest and it's like someone like Elizabeth April or some new ager. And I'm like, what's the point? What's the point? Where's your channel going? What's the direction of your channel? I don't get it. So
Sorry, can I interject there?
What?
That's really why I wanted to have you on, because I just, I don't know if you've seen my guests, but I would say a lot of them lean towards more new age or that sort of thing. And the reason that I really wanted to have you on is because, like you, I do want to find the truth, and to me, getting lots of different perspectives is what helps us get to the truth, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think the issue that I have with the channels I'm talking about,
Mm.
not so much the newer channels, and obviously from speaking to you, and I'm not patronizing you because I used to hate it when people say, "Oh, you're young." I think you can be a 19, you at your age know way more than a lot of 40, 50-year olds, right? So I don't mean that in a patronizing way, but because of the length of time you've been on the planet and just discovering this information, there's a process that you go through, and a lot of people, they go down these roads initially. The issue that I have, where I'm trying to go with this, is the more established channels that have been around for years, that have got like hundreds of thousands of subscribers or 50,000 subscribers, that have been in the alternative media for 10, 15, 20 years plus. They're still like mixing things up. That's what frustrates me. Like the newer channels, people that are still trying to work things out. Maybe not maybe, but there's a difference. There's a difference between being an established like content creator, and when you've appeared on certain channels before, along with others that are saying the same, and then they're still putting new age concepts out there. That's when I'm like, that's what I mean. Is like we need to get on the same page. Like you have a responsibility when you have a lot of subscribers to, I feel, to make sure like the information is accurate, right? If you're a channel that's exploring things, then make that statement up front. Like we're going to be exploring things to reach the truth, hopefully.
I would be curious then what you would say to people that are just beginning this sort of journey, because I think a lot of people are still into the new age, new cage thing. So what's your advice or direction for people?
The new age, new cage is so dangerous for people. I honestly, and the problem is people love it, and for the reasons that I mentioned before. Who doesn't want to talk about angels, unicorns, your friendly alien races that are going to come down any minute and help us all and save us all? And it's all they've packaged it so nicely. They've done a really good job with it. The new age was created as the new religion because people were actually literally starting to give up on a lot of religion, so they needed something new, and so they created the new age. If you go back to the history of it, it was actually started by a dark Luciferian called Helena Blavatsky, I believe her name is. You can research her. And basically it's designed to keep people passive, to get people to stand down, to just make, the best way to describe it is to make them wet lettuces, is the best way I can describe it. Now, what do I mean by that? When you examine some of the concepts, let's take a look at some of the concepts. The new age will tell you to never get angry, right? So we need to ask ourselves, who does that benefit, right? If you have a system that's trying to dominate, control, ultimately kill you, which is basically what they're trying to do, and you believe that it's wrong to get angry, like how are you going to stand up for yourself, right? So we see how that benefits a narcissist or a control freak or a murderer, right? Other one, never judge. right? Never judge. Don't judge. The New Age will tell you that it's wrong to judge. All right, who does that benefit? If you've got someone trying to rob you, murder you again, and you aren't to judge anything bad, right? Because it lowers your vibration, right? Who does that benefit? It benefits the murderer, the rapist, the robber. Because they can go carte blanche because you're just sitting there in love and light. Oh, well, you can't judge that. You can't get angry over that. You'll lower your vibration. No, if you, because they'll tell you to don't focus on the negative because you're going to draw more of it in, right? How does that work? So you're telling me that kids in Gaza are sitting there focusing on the negatives. That's why bombs are dropping on them. None of it makes sense, right? And so there's all these deceptions which just really lead you into being passive. And I'm just being honest. I did another podcast recently talking about how the New Age movement feminizes men. I mean, you just go to one of these retreats, and like these spiritual men are completely, I don't know how else to say it, like deballed, right? All like the love and light, wishy-washy, all that. The male energy is that of action taker, of protector, right? We should be standing up against this, protecting our women and our children. But the New Age, all these men tell you, don't get angry. No, you can't look at the negative and all that stuff and all this nonsense. So what is it doing to people? It's making them passive. It's making them stand down at a time when we need to stand up for ourselves. We need to speak up, talk. I'm not saying that we need to go out and get violent on the streets and stuff like that. That's playing into their hands, right? Because they've got all their water cannons and all that, all their star troopers. But if you meet these people from the New Age, they've lost their spark as well, right? Because you're not allowed an ego. God forbid you have an ego. Got to destroy that, right? That makes me laugh when the New Agers say, you need to destroy your ego. All right, you've destroyed yours, have you? Yeah, okay. Then that's egoic to say that you've destroyed an inherent part of yourself, like the irony in what you're saying. And the fact is, you need a healthy ego. There'd be no art. There would be no one would write music. No one would write books if you didn't have an ego. And we're in gangster planet. This isn't love and light. You need an ego. Otherwise, you're just going to, we're already seeing our rights and freedoms being trampled on, but even more so all this love and light, don't judge, don't get angry, keep your vibrations high. It just keeps people passive and weak, and it's feminized a lot of the men that are involved with it, which is something that they definitely want, because if you take the men out of society and feminize them, then it becomes a rollover, and we might as well roll over and get our bellies rubbed. And there's a war on the masculine and the feminine with feminism and all that. Feminism's, that's a whole nother podcast, right? What they've done to females. So what would I say to people that fall into that? I would say be very careful in the fact that you are essentially falling into the next layer of the matrix. This is like a spider's web, and that is the next strand of the web. And I know it feels good. I know it's all love and light, but it's not going to be love and light forever. It's only going to be temporary, because if you stick on that path of New Age deception, they're going to hook you back round for another lifetime, because you get full well that when you go through that light tunnel, all your guides there that you thought you were working with, they're going to be there. The angels that you thought were on your side, they're going to be there. And the matrix will use those things against you. Just like if you're religious. If you're religious, they're going to use Jesus. Or if you're Buddhist, they're going to use Buddha. I've seen it. It's not even me saying it. You just need to watch these NDE experiences. There's loads of them now. And so they will tailor things to your appeal. And then I say that if you don't get out of the New Age, then you're more than likely going to fall for the false white light and the soul trap at the end of it. So again, I know it feels good in the moment, but I'd rather be punched in the face with the truth now and deal with it, and then get real gratification and feel good factor when I'm out of here, rather than temporary false light highs while I'm in here. So yeah, for any people involved, please just be very careful, because it doesn't seem like it's deceptive because it's packaged so nicely. and so lovey-dovey, but there's an inherent evil undercurrent behind it, which is very dangerous for people.
Mm. A lot of this stuff, like you were saying, there's people go through a grieving period and it's difficult to go through. So I want to ask you, because you mentioned that you're going to play football, was it after this? And I've seen like your Instagram, lots of travel content. So those sort of things. I just want to know what's important to you and what sort of brings you joy and helps you stay sane amidst all of this knowing.
Someone asked me the same question the other day.
Oh, not original.
No, he was like, no, it's a good question. That's what I'm saying. It's a good question. He's like, how do you find joy knowing all of this?
Mm,
Where I'm at right now is that my main focus is not to find joy. And that doesn't mean I'm not happy and I don't enjoy things, because I do. My main it's almost like when I said you'll have to give your life, that was what I got. It's almost like this whole thing, it completely embodies my being. Like from the moment that I wake up to the moment I go to bed, it's literally down this rabbit hole, trying to help others. And I get the most satisfaction for if I put a piece of content or done this interview with you, I'll feel so good because it's going to go to new ears. You'll have your own following, and people will. It's about the information. It's about me. People will at least have heard the information, so then they can make their own judgments on what I've said. So essentially, helping people maneuver their way through this place, because it's like a maze, really. It's like a maze. And there's so many cul-de-sacs and places that people can get lost. And like I say, I don't profess to have it all worked out, but I think I've got a decent handle of things. What gives me joy is fulfilling this kind of purpose that I stumbled in all those years ago, and just helping as many souls as possible to hopefully get out of here, but not only get out of here, but bring this thing down on the way out, because it needs to come down. There's way too much suffering, not even just in this generation. When you look down at history, all the suffering of humans down all these generations, it needs to end. It needs to stop. And essentially, we're the batteries that power the matrix. So the more of us that get out, it's going to come down anyway. So that's really where I say I get my main satisfaction from. The football, a little bit of a matrix hobby there. You have to blow off steam somehow. The football, the diving, my passion is diving and being in the ocean and around the fish and the sharks and the dolphins, and that's like my meditation, I would say. But right now, I'm not really seeking joy, so to speak. I think the joy I get is just from doing what I'm doing, and knowing that hopefully I'll get out of here at the end. But I do say to people, with all this knowledge, you've got to carry on doing. Don't let it steal your dreams. If you have dreams, if you have goals, you want to travel or do certain things, like don't let it stop you. In fact, you've got to do it even more, because they hate it. They hate it when we're happy. They hate it when we're joyful. They hate it when we're doing the things that we love. So there's this meme that's gone around. Maybe I'll send it to you. It's every time you smile, a reptilian goes hungry. And I love that meme because it's so true. With all of this going on, it's very easy to get down, and you can't ignore that there is a grieving process. People are going to go through that. You wouldn't be human if you didn't. But once you get through that, you just got to put on your big boys' pants and girls' pants, and move on and find the joy in it. Do the things you love, but also make sure you've got a plan on what you're going to do when that time comes. Hopefully, for a lot of people, it won't be for a while yet. And I think it's not as hard as we make out getting out of here. I think it's just intention. When you die, go back to yourself and just be very strong. I want to leave this place. I'm a sovereign being. Nobody, no entities has any right over me. And you're in that dimension. Your intention is instant, and you'll go. And just avoid any white light tunnel. People can do what they want. You do you, but not going anywhere near that damn tunnel. So yeah, I think joy is, yeah. Joy is secondary to just fulfilling what I do, and with fulfilling what I do is I get joy.
I'm going to ask you, the name of the podcast is How Are We to Live? So that's usually my final question to guess, but I feel like you just answered it all in there.
Yeah, that was quite an answer. I told you I can talk forever when I come on these podcasts. If you met me in my personal life, you'd be like, oh, he's a quiet dude. But as soon as I get on here on these podcasts, I can't stop.
I'll link everything down in the description, but is there anything, calls to actions you want to give people about where they can find you and learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, just my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Tony Sayers. And then my website is transcendingtimes.org. And yeah, I have a Telegram group as well, which is just my name, Tony Sayers. Yeah, I think that's all really. Yeah, just great to be on. It gives me so much hope when I see younger people that are doing stuff like this and really helping along with this process. Like, we need all hands on deck right now. And yeah, just grateful for the space you provided today and having me on and inviting me on, and just thanks to your listeners for hearing me out.
Yeah, I really appreciate you making the time. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy your football.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. If you had any insights or takeaways that really stuck with you, we'd love to hear about them in the comments. And if you enjoyed the episode, please consider sharing, subscribing, or leaving a rating and review. Your support helps us bring more powerful perspectives, stories, and important conversations to light. Until next time, stay curious, question everything. Peace out.